Hello then viewers, and welcome into episode 24, the start of season 2 with this Mercedes-Benz team in our Formula 1 Manager 22 save. I hope you are doing very well, and welcome back into another season, a season where Lewis Hamilton is looked to defend his World Drivers' Championship and become a 9-time world champion. We've also got George Russell looking to push on from his one race win last season, and he will look to hopefully put on a title challenge of his own. As a team, we're looking to fight for the Constructors' Championship. If you are new around here, hit the subscribe button down below for regular F1 Manager content. Bahrain is obviously the first Grand Prix on the calendar, and that's for 82 days. The new season is here, and we've got some big news to share with you. So first of all, what I wanted to show you before getting into any upgrades and stuff is just where this car is sitting following season 1. And yeah, to say it's a little bit underwhelming at the minute is an understatement. As you can see, we're a very average car. If you look at the performance right now, apart from the engine cooling, which is pretty good, and the DRS acceleration, everything else is a little bit disappointing. The brake cooling, I suppose, is okay, as is the low speed cornering, but right now we would be lucky to make it through to Q3. So we need to add a bunch of upgrades to this car before Bahrain, but we do have around about 3 months to do that, so fingers crossed we are able to do it. If we compare it to last season's best car, Ferrari, a hell of a lot of work to do. Ferrari definitely coming into the season as the favorites once again, and it just goes to show that with our concentration on last year's championships, we probably neglected this car a little bit. But we're going to push the upgrades and try to get as fast as we can before Bahrain. So in terms of upgrades, what we are working on first of all is the chassis. We are bringing a new chassis to hopefully being ready in time for Bahrain. It's about 34 days, so it should be fine. And yeah, that should be all designed for then. We've also worked on an underfloor, which will be ready in 81 days, so that's just before Bahrain. I don't know if we will have it in time for the race. And then finally side pods, 47 days. So a lot of work is being done on the car, which will hopefully be in time for the Bahrain Grand Prix, just so that we can at least challenge to the front of the grid. Last season, remember, we only had 1 pole position all year. We need to work on that this year. Lewis Hamilton, although he's the world champion, didn't sit on pole once. It was George Russell that took that pole position, which led to his comfortable first race win. We need to improve that statistic. With the amount of upgrades we do need to do, we are looking at improving the factory as well. It's a big amount of money, 14.5 million, and it's going to take 125 days. That's what, around about 6 months. So yeah, that's something that we do want to do. We probably should have done it during the off-season break, but we're going to do that now because it will allow the car parts projects to go up quite a bit, and it means we can use more engineers. So we're going to upgrade the factory straight away. That will come in at the midway point of this season. We are also going to spend a lot of money on the design center as well, so that we can get more engineers for future upgrades. So we're going to construct that and build the design center along with the factory. And there have been some big changes on the grid this season, so let's get you up to date and let's show you what has happened. Now, first of all, I mentioned last time out that we did want to bring in Oliver Bearman to the Mercedes team. I did just realize that there was the rule in this game that because he's not 18 yet, he can't join an F1 team. So we do have to wait until he's of age. So Nick DeVries will be here for 1 more year, and we'll hopefully put him out in the car a little bit more than last season. We did only see him twice. But starting at the front of the grid, Ferrari have kept their driver lineup with Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz being backed up by Giovinazzi. We've obviously kept ours as well with Lewis Hamilton and George Russell, with Nick DeVries as reserve. Heading to Red Bull, they've still kept Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez with Buemi as their reserve driver, and Alpine have kept their driver lineup as well, Alonso, Ocon and Piastri. It's in the midfield though, there has been a hell of a lot of change, and the first change is Pierre Gasly moving from Alpha Tauri to Alfa Romeo. Pierre Gasly has replaced Zhou Guanyu and is now the teammate of Valtteri Bottas at Alfa Romeo. Bottas was a one-man army at times, taking on Fernando Alonso and the Alpine, so that's a very strong lineup for an Alfa Romeo team that really improved their car towards the end of last season. Looking at Alpha Tauri, they've made wholesale changes. Théo Pourchaire has come in as their reserve driver. Alexander Albon has moved from Williams to Alpha Tauri, back to the Red Bull team where he was once a member. And Sebastian Vettel, at the end of his career, has basically gone back home. Who can ever forget just how Vettel burst onto the scene with the Toro Rosso team? He is now back with them at Alpha Tauri, which means Yuki Tsunoda is gone as well. Where has he gone? Let's find out. Daniel Ricciardo and Lando Norris, along with Frederick Vesti, make up the McLaren team. No changes there, I don't think. Haas, they have dropped Mick Schumacher and brought in Richard Verschoor from Formula 2 with Kevin Magnussen and Fittipaldi as their reserve driver. Aston Martin have swapped Zhou Guanyu for the empty seat that was left by Sebastian Vettel. And then in Williams, they've got a whole new driver lineup. Yuki Tsunoda and Mick Schumacher making up that Williams car, which means Nicholas Latifi is out of Formula 1. So some really big lineup changes there. I'm really interested to see that Alpha Tauri lineup and also the Alfa Romeo. I'm really happy to see Pierre Gasly get a chance at what could potentially be a race-winning car this year. Last season, the only real difference to a podium we had was Ocon, who finished behind George Russell. I think it was at Austria where George Russell won, and a bunch of that was because of grid penalties before the race. So yeah, hopefully we get to see a little bit more variety in terms of race winners, in terms of podiums and stuff like that on the grid. So before Bahrain, we've got a long way to go, 80 days. So we're going to fast forward and we're going to see what happens in the off season. Right, so the first bit of our upgrades has been designed. The chassis has been created and ready to be manufactured. So let's take a look that. If we go to our emails, first of all, it will be chassis design, let's manufacture. So we look to rush it. Actually, we don't need to rush it really. It's 48 days. We want to do 4 of them. Actually, let's do 6 so that we don't need to worry about them. And those will come in time definitely for the Bahrain Grand Prix. If we rush it though, do we need to worry? Nah, no need to worry about it. So let's bring in the chassis. That is the first upgrade that we are bringing into the season. Next upgrade design has been complete, and that is with the side pod. So it's ready to be manufactured. So let's take a look at the side pods there. Those will take 7 days, and again, Bahrain's in 35 days. So we're looking to do 6 of them. Those should be okay. We'll have enough for both cars. So we will do that, and we should have now a chassis and a yeah, we should have a chassis and a upgrade on the side pods for the start of the race. So once those have been added to the car, we'll see how we show or we rank in comparison to the rest of the grid once they've all been built. The next upgrade we're looking to bring, it won't be here in time for Bahrain, but we are designing a new suspension. So hopefully we should at least get some of that in time for Australia. So let's get that built, and then once the chassis has been done, once the underfloor has been done, we're going to do another upgrade to the underfloor straight away as well. Right, so the first pre-season testing results have come in, and yeah, Barcelona is now over, and we've been watching the other teams as closely as we could. From the looks of things, our car's dirty air high speed cornering could be improved compared to the grid, which is valuable information already. I've added a full report on what we've learned in general. So we look at the car as it stands: top speed 15th, low speed cornering and stuff like that in the midfield, DRS in the midfield as well. We have got a lot of upgrades that we need to bring to this car already. The engine cooling's okay at 5th, but yeah, we have a lot of work to do. So again, we do have some upgrades coming in terms of Bahrain, which we have now added to the car. But yeah, we've still got a hell of a lot of work to do to start off this season. We're already on the back foot. Focusing on last season's championship has not really helped us as the underfloor has been designed. Let's go straight to that email. Manufacture the underfloor. We go into rush that, or do we go intense? We go emergency. If we go emergency, it means that they'll be here for Bahrain. No, let's just go rushed. We'll miss out on Bahrain. And oh no. Do you know what? It's a lot of money, but we made a lot of money last year. But we are going to rush 2 of them, and then we're going to make another couple once it's been done. So there we go. We're emergency completing 2 underfloor parts, and those should be ready in time for the Bahrain Grand Prix. It's a lot of money, but we are already on the back foot. So now that that part of the underfloor is done, we are going to do another underfloor upgrade. And as always, we are going to push everything towards the right hand side. Again, this is going from the comment that we were left earlier on in season 1, just to suggest that the underfloor was very important. Looking at the airflow sensitivity though, that doesn't seem to be improving. Did we just go balanced on it? We could do something like that. Actually no, as always, let's just stick to what we know. Push it towards the right hand side. We'll do all of that. And engineers, we've got 5 left, so we're going to put 4 on it. We are going to rush it so that it can be ready earlier on in the season. Another $2 million spent. That is on the underfloor. And then a final design, we are going to do another upgrade, this time on the front wing, and that will be for the remainder of our wind tunnel time. So yeah, we've not done a front wing upgrade, so we'll put that up to 20 hours. Yep, all the way to the right hand side. We've done a lot of upgrades before Bahrain. Happy with those. Right, so we've got 2 engineers, which we will change. We will rush that as well, and then we'll confirm that all sent there. Now let's take a look at the car in comparison to the grid and comparison to where we were before. So as you can see, there are small gains, not a lot, but we're no longer sort of 15th and 17th. If we compare again with Ferrari, if we show the values, we're much slower than them in a straight line. So we do need to increase the top speed. The corner in there much better than us as well by quite a bit. So we do have to spend a lot on our upgrades. But in terms of the rest of the grid, we seem to be okay. Like the engine cooling is okay. The medium speed cornering is okay. The medium speed dirty air cornering is okay. But yeah, we do need to work on it a little bit more. We're better than McLaren in some aspects, but McLaren are faster than us. Red Bull are better than us in basically everything apart from engine cooling. The Alpine are better than us right now. The Williams are better than us in a few aspects. So yeah, it could be a bit tricky here to see us get into Q2 or Q3. Alfa Romeo with a much better package than us in a lot of ways. So yeah, we're going to head into Bahrain on the back foot. I'm not expecting a race win here, but remember, we did start the season slowly last year, and it will probably be something similar again this year. Heading into the race, what we want to do is look at Mike Elliott's development. He's got 2 development points. So underfloor is most important, and we want rear wing because we do need to work on rear wing as well. Performance targets for the race, then reach Q2, reach Q3. I'm not sure that we will be able to guarantee it, but we're going to try our best. Qualifying position, 2 drivers in the top 15. I don't know how this car's going to perform, so we'll confirm that there. Reach Q3, we will do our best. Fastest lap, I'm not sure, but if we go to finishing position, 2 drivers in the top 12, should be able to do that. Just because of the ranking of this car, it might drive better, who knows, but we'll see. Qualifying position streak and finish position streak of 2 drivers in the top 12 again, and we'll do that for 3 races. We're heading into Bahrain, and we will look to push on from our upgrades and see if we're able to do anything.
Welcome to the archipelago of Formula One. Bahrain might have a small land footprint, but it's showing its big spirit right now in the grandstands. Either way, it's time for another fantastic weekend of Grand Prix racing. The Bahrain International Circuit is a challenging track, and the cars routinely have to brake from high gear to low to take the narrow turns. With the need for downhill braking, the risk of locking up is one drivers will need to manage. It's all about focus and balance to get victory here. At this early stage in the season, there are still plenty of opportunities for things to change. In this sport, there simply are no guarantees. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Formula One.
Here we go then, ahead of our new season in Formula One. Season 2 on this manager save, and already bright skies and clearness throughout the Bahrain sessions under the lights at the race. Right, so important thing to do is taper expectations here. The car is not as good as I would like. It would be good if we could finish P5 and P6 to start the season, but I do think that you've probably got to expect maybe a battle for sort of P8 to P10. But let's head out to do some setups, and as ever, if there's any highlights, we'll bring them to you in this session. So as with every season, our drivers will be able to pick and choose, or we flip a coin. I've done that off mic, and Lewis Hamilton chose to go out first, so we're sending him out here at the Bahrain Grand Prix. They always take it in turns. So next week, George Russell will go out before Lewis Hamilton. Let's fast forward stuff from now. Let Lewis Hamilton go out, and George Russell can go out next. Really interesting to see how the new grid forms, but yeah, we've got a lot of upgrades on the car. Let's see how it performs.
It involves Sebastian Vettel. Oh dear, dear, dear. That's far wider than they would have wanted.
Our first incident then of the new season, and Sebastian Vettel runs wide in his new Alpha Tauri as we get some setup feedback.
Very good.
Great from George Russell, and we've had a good from Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton is coming into the pits now as George Russell is sitting behind a Red Bull on his final lap. There are 16 minutes left on the session, so things are going okay so far. Time-wise, Lewis Hamilton's down in P8, George Russell's in P11, but we've not really done a lot of timed laps yet. But 86% for Lewis Hamilton is a good start to work with. Let's check George Russell's when he comes in as well. We'll make some final adjustments and send them out for some quick laps towards the end of the session. And it's at 87% feedback for George Russell as well. So the traction is still pretty bad, so we do have to work with that quite a little bit. But we'll do that and send him back out as well. That will bring about the end of practice 1 then, with Lewis Hamilton down in P8 and George Russell down in P13. Some interesting stuff is you see Pierre Gasly currently sitting in that Alfa Romeo up in P4, Valtteri Bottas in P6, Ocon in P5, Lando Norris in P7. So those midfield teams have made a big improvement given some of the regulation changes. Max Verstappen tops the timesheets for the first practice session of the year, but Charles Leclerc, who was our main driver's contender last season, behind Lewis Hamilton in P9. Last season's championship contender Charles Leclerc spins just ahead of the Aston Martin, all under no pressure whatsoever. Lewis Hamilton has he spun again? Is that 2 spins back to back for Leclerc? Obviously the temperature of the tyres were cold and he spun again. He is having some troubles with that Ferrari this season. Lewis Hamilton's currently sitting behind a Williams, and George Russell is going through his laps as well. He's also sitting behind the Williams, so that's interesting to see. Lewis Hamilton in P8, George Russell in P10, but again, right now it's all just about the feedback. We're just letting them stay out for some track acclimatization. They have got, how many laps have they been out? 14 laps each. They've got another 6 laps before coming in. We'll make some changes and then send them out on a set of medium tyres as the Williams, under pressure, locks up and runs wide right in front of Lewis Hamilton there. Which Williams was that? Who were in the Williams? Mick Schumacher, was it? Here we are then with George Russell, a 97% confidence setup with 52% on the track acclimatization. The car parts knowledge 41%, so that's going to take a little while to get to 100, but good stuff here for George Russell. Great for the oversteer and the cornering, so we do just need to mess around with that a little bit, but the braking stability should be okay. End of practice 2 then, and Lewis Hamilton down in P13, George Russell down in P14. As things stand at the minute, it looks as though we will be in a fight to get out of Q2, potentially Q3 here. We could be struggling. So we've definitely messed up our summer break, or our winter break I should say. We've not come into the season with a ready car at all. So George Russell then, setup wise, we've got 4 optimals and a great, so we're going to stick with that on the 97%. Run plan, he's going to go long, so we're going to go for 35 laps on the hard tire, and we'll get his track acclimatization up to 100%. Lewis Hamilton, his setup is at 90%, and we have got 3 optimals, a great and a good, so we can work around with that just ahead of ahead of this practice session, and we'll send him out on hard tires as well and try and get his track acclimatization up to 100 as well. So Lewis Hamilton on a 95%, 2 optimals and 3 greats. It might be a bit tricky to get him up here, so we could do something like that. So we'll do that down to 15 and hopefully get as much feedback as we can in the final 20 minutes. George Russell, he is currently out on track, still doing his longer runs, 100% on the track acclimatization, 97% on the setup. We're all good there with him. We're just keeping him out now until the end of the session on these hard tires to get some race data, but also so that the part knowledge can go up above 72% as well. Practice 3 is over then, and we've done everything we could do, but Lewis Hamilton and George Russell down in P19 and 20. It's okay. We've done all of our running on the hard tire, long stints to try and get track acclimatization up, which we managed to do. Let's fast forward on to the end of the session just to see where we stand in terms of our setups. I think we are all good. Yeah, track acclimatization both up to 100. Setup confidence for George Russell 97%, and the setup confidence for Lewis Hamilton was at 95, so we should at least be on there for that. Let's head to qualifying, and yeah, the aim here is to get out of at least Q2 and into Q3. I can't even say confidently here that we're going through Q1, as George Russell sits in P12. Lewis Hamilton should be okay in P9, but down at the bottom of the timesheet, we've got Vershaw there, I believe, Zhou Guanyu in the Aston Martin, Lance Stroll, the 2 Williams. We could be in that battle for 60th place, but it's not looking good to get into Q3. We're going to send them out again on a used set of soft tyres to hopefully get some speed. Remember, Lewis Hamilton is the first one out this weekend. We're just going to wait for everyone to pull the trigger before we head out. A couple of minutes to go to the end of the session. Lewis Hamilton goes out now, and George Russell goes out after in some decent space. Yeah, let's try our best to make sure that we get through to at least Q2. All right, so we are not improving here as Lewis Hamilton crosses the line. He has finished up in P9. George Russell could be on the verge of some trouble here. Like, Lewis Hamilton has now been knocked down to P10 by Esteban Ocon. George Russell's finished in P12. Right, who are you watching behind? Albon. He is next on the road in the Alpha Tauri. Is he going to go faster than the 2 Mercedes? As Sebastian Vettel puts himself up to P13, Albon is in P13. Should be okay. Kevin Magnussen has finished his lap. He's down in P15, so it's all on Vershaw in his first qualifying session in a Haas in F1. He crosses the line and just about stays in the bottom 5. So yeah, we're okay there. Lewis Hamilton in P10, George Russell in P12. Yeah, we might be a little bit of a struggle here. Right, we are starting our final runs here in Q2, and we did send out both of our drivers on used softs for the first lap, and yeah, that didn't go according to plan. P13 and P14, so we're currently going out of this session. So we put on some brand new soft tires. Reason I've done this is so that we can try and be as aggressive as possible in the race, because I think it's going to have to be our strategy that picks us up points more so than car performance until we get all of our upgrades in, which I'm hoping will maybe be around Miami time. Remains to be seen. So let's push on and at least get one of our drivers into Q2. Sorry, into Q3, out of Q2. Right, here is the checkered flag then, and we are on a personal best lap time with both of our drivers as we come towards the final turn. Lewis Hamilton is currently down in P13. Kevin Magnussen has crossed the line. He's P9. We need to make up 0.3 of a second. Have these tyres done that? As Lewis Hamilton crosses the line, where does he finish? He's up in P8. He should be okay through. George Russell, can he follow his teammate through? He's currently down in P14. He goes up into P10, but he's on the verge of being knocked out here. Can Lando Norris knock him out? He does. Any of the AlphaTauris on a faster lap. Alexander Albon could knock out Lewis Hamilton. He crosses the line. He goes from P15 to P14. But it is George Russell in P11 who is out here in Q2. Lewis Hamilton gets through down in P9, 0.7 of a second off the leader. But George Russell has been eliminated in Q2. I can't say it's a massive surprise, but yeah, the performance just isn't there right now. We need to work on this car once again. We've come into Bahrain on the back foot, and Lewis Hamilton seems like his ceiling for this race in terms of qualifying P9 and P8. Max Verstappen has started the season very strong, currently at top of the timesheets. But let's head into Q3 and try to put in the best position that we can. Lewis Hamilton then speeding to the start-finish straight, currently down in P10. Where does he put his Mercedes? Up into P8, but Esteban Ocon is on a flying lap. Does he knock Lewis Hamilton down? Does he? The time is yet to update. No, he doesn't. And it's Lewis Hamilton in P8 behind both of the Alfa Romeos who have started the season very well. Fernando Alonso in the Alpine as well. Max Verstappen is your pole sitter for the first race of the season. It's a Red Bull sandwich with the 2 Ferraris as the fill-in. We should be on for a very good race here. Lewis Hamilton and George Russell, if you're going to want some points, we need you to get some overtakes done.
Tension continues to build here as race day begins.
We saw a reasonable push from Mercedes in qualifying, and they'll have plenty of opportunities here to achieve a great result. We saw a solid qualifying performance from Ferrari, and they're sure to have their chance to push even further during the race. A sunny day here with only a few clouds in the sky. If things stay this way, the weather shouldn't pose any challenges to the teams.
And there's going to be a lot for the teams to handle. So will the drivers and their cars be able to cope with the pressure? Let's find out right here at the Bahrain Grand Prix.
So first race of the season then, under the lights here at Bahrain, and we have started quite poorly in qualifying, P8 and P11, so we're going to have to go quite aggressive on the strategy again. Let's take a look here what the race is suggesting. Two-stop strategy. Can we go aggressive on the tires? Not really. If we were to do mediums, the mediums are going to fall off. So strategy wise, I think we're going to do something like this. Start on the mediums, go onto the mediums and push for a bit, and then finish on the soft tires, when I think everyone will either be on some worn softs or some worn mediums potentially, but we can always mess around with it throughout the session. So we're going to do that, medium and soft tires to end, and then with George Russell we're going to do something similar, I think, although we're going to start on the soft with George Russell, and then we are going to go, yeah, and then with George Russell we'll do something similar with that as well, medium soft, and we'll choose that for George Russell. Right, P8 and P11, a double points finish will be a good start to the season for us, given how poor our car has performed during qualifying.
With the skies mostly clear, tonight's race shouldn't hold any unpleasant surprises. And here we've got Lewis Hamilton. A top 10 position today, but will they be able to capitalize on it? And here we can see Russell. With their starting position in the back 10, they'll have their work cut out for them. Will their hard work pay off today? And this is it, the Bahrain Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
All right, decent start then. Lewis Hamilton in P8, George Russell in P11. Lewis Hamilton and George Russell have had difficult starts there, as Lewis Hamilton is down the inside. What's happening? He's cutting the corner. Oh, what's going on there? Okay, bit of an issue. George Russell, he is down to P11 again, as Lando Norris has overtaken Lewis Hamilton at the start. Right, not a great start for the two Mercedes boys. Let's take a look at the tyres then. Everyone apart from ourselves are on the medium. So, okay, these guys have all started on softs, a lot of them on used. So we can maybe take advantage of that a little bit later into the stint. But for now, we need to settle in P9 and P11. Right, we might have screwed over our drivers here, starting on the medium tyres, and with everyone on the softs, George Russell has lost a place to Kevin Magnussen. He is now down in P12, and Lewis Hamilton is being chased by Esteban Ocon. Let's deploy some ERS and push on as the DRS is open. You can see Esteban Ocon with the speed. That is an easy overtake. So, yeah, this little opportunity for us to start on mediums has not gone well at all, as Daniel Ricciardo has also overtaken George Russell on the inside there on the soft tyre. Yeah, we're gonna have to hope that at the end of this race the strategy comes to us. But yeah, I might have made a tactical mistake here, as both our drivers are struggling to stay in the points. Yeah, these medium tyres are not working the way that I'd like at all, as Kevin Magnussen now overtakes Lewis Hamilton. And that means both Mercedes are out of the points, currently in P11, and George Russell is down to P14, and he's now fighting Sebastian Vettel in the Alpha Tauri. Let's deploy a little bit of ERS with both of our drivers, because George Russell is going to come under attack from DRS there, and Sebastian Vettel sends George Russell down to P15. Yeah, we've got this strategy called a bit wrong here. What we might do is we might start going aggressive with the tyres in a little bit. We do have to maybe hope that the strategy comes to us towards the end of the stint, but right now, yeah, things are not going our way at all. All right, Lewis Hamilton goes for a move down the inside of Kevin Magnussen. Oh, that is an awful accident. Magnussen locked up, went wide, and is now under investigation with Esteban Ocon. There's a virtual safety car, so we're going to go onto standard with the tyres just to save them a little bit. So with that accident, Lewis Hamilton is now up into P8. He's very, very lucky to have avoided that crash, as all of the front runners are now coming into the pits for their scheduled pit stops. We're going to stay out, so Lewis Hamilton could potentially be leading the pack here if all things are considered. Let's go on to neutral with both of our drivers. Lewis Hamilton comes down the start finish straight. George Russell is behind one of the Alpha Tauris. So Lewis Hamilton all of a sudden is your new race leader, and George Russell is up into P4. Obviously we're yet to pit, as there's a bit of an incident with the Red Bull. Max Verstappen onto the hard tyre, Charles Leclerc onto the hard tyre as well. I don't know whether this strategy is helping or hindering us now, with everyone coming into the pits. So it was fun to be in the race lead for a while, but yeah, we're not fighting for the race win this time. Max Verstappen overtakes Lewis Hamilton and takes first place on the road, as Lewis Hamilton will now tuck in behind Max Verstappen in the DRS for a little while. Let's go on to standard, try to save some tyres. While we are in the DRS, we can keep up the pace that way. George Russell is battling with Alexander Albon, who has jumped up to P5, considering he is yet to stop. Yeah, I don't really know if that virtual safety car helped us, because everyone came in for an earlier pit stop. So maybe it has, because we might be able to overcut the likes of Daniel Ricciardo Norris, Vettel, people like that, who have to obviously stop again a little bit later on in the race. But as for now, we are about 5 laps away from our scheduled pit stop. We're going to continue out and hopefully we'll be able to make this strategy work. Right, we're going to call George Russell into the pits and we're going to bring him on for hard tyres. We're going to change the strategy a little bit, but the hard tyres seem to be working for everyone. So we're going to box him in now for hards, and we're going to go on aggressive for a little bit. With Lewis Hamilton, we're going to stay out. He's got 2 more laps, so we're going to attack on this set of tyres for at least 1 more lap. George Russell's going to come in from P5, and hopefully he will get out ahead of Sebastian Vettel in P10 maybe, potentially. We'll go on to standard as he pits in now. We need a good pit stop here by George Russell. Hits the limiter. Right, we need him to get in and get out, hopefully ahead of Sebastian Vettel in P10. Right, George Russell, 2.8 seconds on the pit stop. Not the best. I think Vettel's going to jump him here, but we are on the hard tyres, and yeah, ours are not going to be worn, so we can attack straight away as George Russell is exiting the pit lane. Can he get out at least ahead of the McLaren? If he can't get the AlphaTauri, right, there's Sebastian Vettel, and George Russell comes out in P10 ahead of Alexander Albon and Daniel Ricciardo. So that's a good overcut there from George Russell. He's up into P10, and we're going to go on aggressive straight away on these tyres before coming in again for the soft tyres towards the end of this race. In we come in with Lewis Hamilton on lap 23 as Max Verstappen has run wide and lost the race lead. No, he's pushing hard to stay with Charles Leclerc. He's gone wide. It seems to be those two clear out in front. Here is Lewis Hamilton boxing in, coming in for some hard tyres from the mediums. He is probably going to come out behind Pierre Gasly in P9. So, yeah, things are going on P8, sorry, ahead of Sebastian Vettel. George Russell is down to P11. He's been overtaken by Alexander Albon, but we're in DRS, so it should be okay. Easy for Lewis Hamilton to clear P8. And now, with our tyre strategy, are we able to make up some gains and hopefully finish up in maybe P6 or P7 with Lewis Hamilton? That's a possibility. George Russell just needs to get back into the points. George Russell then with a brilliant dive down the inside of Alexander Albon, and Sebastian Vettel with an overtake. So he's up into the points now with George Russell, as we can see him in P9 doing the same on Alexander Albon in the AlphaTauri. Good job there from George Russell. Some good driving from him as he makes his way up through the pack. We're going to go on to standard with Lewis Hamilton's tyres. He's got the freshest tyres out there. Oh, pressure from Lewis Hamilton has sent Pierre Gasly off the racetrack, and Lewis Hamilton's now up into P7 and not too far behind Fernando Alonso in P6. So this strategy and the fresher tyres are really working in our favour right now. George Russell is still fighting with Alexander Albon. Both of these guys pit around the same time. Obviously Albon started on the hard tyres and is going to make a 2-stop strategy work, but currently P7 and P9. Lewis Hamilton is looking good for maybe P6 here, unless maybe something else happens out in front. Although the tyre wear, could Lewis Hamilton make a 1-stop strategy work here? We might keep a check on that. George Russell is definitely going to need to come in again, probably for some softs, and we'll do that around a similar time to our competitors here, as Alexander Albon looks to make a dive down the inside of George Russell, as someone's gone off the track. I think it's the AlphaTauri of Sebastian Vettel behind this battle. It was Sebastian Vettel. He has struggled with this AlphaTauri this weekend. He locks up and he's gone off. So yeah, he was a bit of a threat to George Russell, but right now P9 and P7, a decent double points finish. Obviously not where we want to be, but considering how poor our car was coming into the start of the season, it's not too bad.
Mercedes here.
George Russell on the fresher tyres has caught up and passed Pierre Gasly in the Alfa Romeo. and had the DRS to make the move stick. So good move there by George Russell. He's now up into P7, as some of our leaders have moved on to soft tyres, Carlos Sainz being one of them. Charles Leclerc is coming into the pits now. What does he go on to? Because he was on hards, as was Max Verstappen, who stays out another lap. Charles Leclerc is coming on for soft tyres. So it is now getting into soft tyre range. What we're going to do with George Russell is we're going to attack for the next few laps.
Push hard this lap.
And we're going to attack with Lewis Hamilton as well. If everyone else is going on to softs, we're going to softs soon as well. But we're going to push hard right now and have fresher softs at the end, as Charles Leclerc comes out ahead of this battle with Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso. Right, in comes George Russell on lap 44 after pushing in for a few good laps for fresh, soft tyres. It's a smooth stop as someone has spun out on the track. I'm not sure who it is. George Russell is now down to P9 as Vashora is the person who has spun. Right, fresh soft tyres for George Russell, as the likes of Ricardo Alonso have worn softs. What we're going to do with Lewis Hamilton is we're going to box this lap as well, and we're going to bring him in for some fresh softs on top of that. So looking like a double points finish here for both of our drivers. We're just going to stay on standard for the time being, because Ricardo's tyres are very worn, Alonso's tyres are very worn. How far behind is George Russell? He is currently 10 seconds behind this battle. 13 laps, a second a lap, it's not impossible. Lewis Hamilton then for his final scheduled stop, 2.7 seconds. Not the best pit stops at all, as Fernando Alonso and Daniel Ricciardo are fighting it out. Lewis Hamilton's going to come out in P8. George Russell is in P9. It's on both of these Mercedes now to chase down the McLaren and the Alpine. Lewis Hamilton should have enough tyre life to get it done. George Russell, I'm not so sure. George Russell there with the fastest lap of the race. Good stuff there, as Lewis Hamilton's been given the permission to use more fuel and push on it. He is currently 4 seconds behind Daniel Ricciardo, and George Russell's currently further 4 seconds behind him. So we've got some time, 9 laps to go, and the tyre wear for Daniel Ricciardo and Fernando Alonso is not looking good. If we can maybe get to lap 50 and things are still going okay, we can maybe go on to attack. Actually, with Lewis Hamilton, we might be able to go on to aggressive now on the tyre wear. George Russell, we're going to hang it out a little bit just because we did box in a little bit earlier with him. But no, things are looking good right now. Okay, one thing I did not see happening is more pit stops, and Carlos Sainz has had to box in again, as has Daniel Ricciardo, who's now on fresher soft tyres. So Lewis Hamilton is up into P6. Now, I'm not expecting Carlos Sainz to stay behind us for very long, but we don't have to box again. George Russell's in P8 now, thanks to that Daniel Ricciardo pit stop, but it seems as though cars are maybe 3 stopping, whereas we're 2 stopping. I didn't expect that. 6 laps to go on this race, and the tyre wear for Lewis Hamilton is now starting to take a bit of a hit, so we are going to go back onto standard a little bit, and we're going to balance the fuel as well. If Carlos Sainz does catch us up, we're not going to really try to fight him too much, just because obviously he's in a much faster car. But we can see Fernando Alonso just up ahead. Let's deploy a little bit of ERS and try and get ourselves into DRS range. With 5 laps to go, Lewis Hamilton has moved his Mercedes up into P5. This car really shouldn't be this high up, but he's overtaken Fernando Alonso there with a comfortable move. And Carlos Sainz has not really made the impression that I thought he would do, with 4 laps now to go. Carlos Sainz is 4 seconds behind Lewis Hamilton at a second a lap. It's still possible, so we've told Lewis Hamilton to attack on these tyres. Use them while you can. George Russell, we're going to give him the permission to attack as well, as we want him to try and overtake Fernando Alonso if it's possible, as Fernando Alonso looks to take back P5 from Lewis Hamilton, but it's well defended there by the Mercedes driver. Last lap of this race then, and all of a sudden things are getting juicy. George Russell is comfortable in P8. I don't see him being challenged from behind by Pierre Gasly at all, so he should finish in P8. But in front of him, Lewis Hamilton is fighting with Fernando Alonso whilst defending from Carlos Sainz in a fight for P5. Out in front, Max Verstappen has managed to make his tyres work, and the Red Bull of Sergio Perez is making it a current 1-2 for the Red Bull team. And Valtteri Bottas, with a brilliant drive so far, is in P3. It would be his first podium of this save. I do hope he can hang on to it. Charles Leclerc had to box in again, similar to Carlos Sainz, so he is now down in P4 for what should have been a potential easy race win. Lewis Hamilton is going to have to just be careful here, as the tyre wear does have a bit of an issue. So we're going to push with him, and we're going to deploy a little bit of ERS as well. We're going to deploy all of the battery with George Russell and push to the very end. But Lewis Hamilton is kind of now or never here on this overtake. Can you get the move done past Fernando Alonso? The DRS is open. Lewis Hamilton up into P5, but we have to be careful. There's one more DRS detection point, as around the final corner comes Max Verstappen to take the checkered flag, and the first race win of the season goes to the former world champion. Congratulations to him, as Valtteri Bottas is up into P2. Where did that come from? Valtteri Bottas, will you stay in front of Sergio Perez? Crosses the line. Valtteri Bottas, congratulations. That is P2, as Lewis Hamilton has managed to escape from Fernando Alonso. Carlos Sainz is now fighting him. Will they go side by side? Carlos Sainz overtakes Fernando Alonso on the line. But for the Mercedes drivers, it is P5 for Lewis Hamilton and P8 for George Russell. Double points finish out of nowhere. Ferrari have messed themselves up already. Their bozo gene continues, as Sergio Perez lost a guaranteed 1-2 for Red Bull. And congratulations, Valtteri Bottas, your first podium of the series, and you're up in P2 in the Alfa Romeo. That Alfa Romeo is very, very fast. Double points though for the Mercedes, so good blueprint for us to step on, and we just need some upgrades now to try and start challenging at the front of the grid.
Lewis Hamilton did okay here today. There's no doubt that Mercedes have a lot of potential. Now they need to figure out how to make it work for them.
There will definitely be some lessons to learn for them, but this was solid work.
And after this result, the team is fourth in the constructor standings.
The teams now look ahead to the next round, where they'll duel it out in the sand dunes of Saudi Arabia.
Not the worst way then to kick off our season, as Max Verstappen is your race winner. Lewis Hamilton, defending world champion, currently down in P5 with the first race. George Russell in P8, but also got the fastest lap of the race, so good stuff there. Early driver standings, then obviously Max Verstappen leads the way. Constructors wise, Red Bull up in P1 and Alfa Romeo in P2, Ferrari P3, Mercedes in P4. I'm sure the board and the directors will not be happy with that, but it's only the first race of the season. Still a long way to go, but that's going to wrap up the end of our return to this F1 Manager save. George Russell has a development point, so we will spend that at the start of our next race. And we continue on then. Sponsorship wise, we brought in $4 million, which is good for us. No outgoings because no podium, no race wins. But we're heading to Jeddah next in 4 days time, and we will potentially have another part on the suspension to improve the car. But thank you for watching. I do appreciate all of the support on this series. I hope you have enjoyed it so far. Again, we're going to push on through season 2. If you are new around here, hit the subscribe button down below, like the video if you are enjoying the content, and until next time, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you for the next video.